Welcome to Destination Wedding Planning Made Easy, where your team at Destination Weddings Expert talks about all things weddings. Join us as we talk about tips, tricks, and those all too easy pitfalls to avoid when planning your big day. Hello. Welcome back to Destination Wedding Planning Made Easy. I am your host, Mario Lopez. You got the team from Destination Weddings Expert here, Prissi Powell and Nikki Sanders. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So today we are talking about one of the less romantic topics that we get to talk about when we're talking destination wedding planning, right? We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the room block, how we book it, and why we book it the way we do. All right. So it's some of the conversations that we like to have in our consultation when we meet with our couples is talking about the different ways that you can book your rooms. Obviously, when you're booking one or two rooms, you have the option of shopping around, of going direct, whatever you want to do to get your room booked, and that's fine. Um, but when you're talking about booking, 30 rooms, 40 rooms, 50 rooms, you need to be protected. You need some consistency in your booking. You need to, be able to guarantee rates. The only way to do that is with a room block. And with the room block, you have two options of going on your room block. You can do a tour operator, or you can do direct, right?
hmm
Now, our policy for like 99.5% of our weddings is to do a tour operator. And so we want to talk a little bit about that today and kind of why we go that route, why we have that conversation with our couples, and why we feel it's the best thing to do in the interest of everyone involved, right? So I think, the first one that we want to talk about here, of course, we love our resort partners. They do a phenomenal job. They are invested in us and invested in our couples and making sure that everyone has an amazing time. But in the end, a resort is going to be on the side of the resort, right?
hmm
So the reason I started this off with it being kind of like the non-romantic part of wedding planning is this is legal.
hmm
When we're signing a room block contract, it could be, $100,000, $200,000. That's money that us as the agency and you as the couple are on the line for, right? And so when we're talking those kind of numbers, the resort is always going to look out for themselves. And so the reason that you hire us, the reason that we go through a tour operator, and the reason that we have all these contracts in place to protect us is to make sure that those protections are in place, that we don't end up with $100,000 bill on rooms that we're not going to use, or that's we want to make sure that we're following the guidelines, following the processes the entire way through. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's our resort partners have always done a good job of working with us, but we want to make sure that these policies are in place to kind of keep everyone on the same playing field. So, Prissy, you brought up a really good point before about the reservations.
hmm
Now we have our room block, and we're talking about, if we're doing direct versus tour operator. When you go direct with us, or sorry, excuse me, when you go with the tour operator, so you're going through us, that's we have a booking system. All your guests go in, they go into the booking system, they fill in the information. We have the team, here at Destination Weddings Expert that checks the reservations, make sure all the information is correct before a single dollar is charged, right? We're making sure that everything is looking correct. Prissy, tell me a little bit about kind of the resorts and how sometimes they might handle their reservations directly.
A lot of resorts, it's very common for them to give the couples a booking link. With that booking link, no inventory is being held.
Mhm.
No one is monitoring that group, looking at the guests who are maybe falling behind. No one is looking at as you approach your attrition dates or your final payment dates. So you don't have anyone nurturing those reservations. So it's you, your link, the contract you signed, and the resort. So you really have no one advocating for you, managing your group, keeping you in the loop of what's going on. So in my mind, it's a terrible way to plan a destination wedding, right? You're paying vendors for X amount of chairs. You may not have X amount of bodies who
Mhm.
show up at this wedding. So it can be very costly for the
Yeah,
couple.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then you mentioned, that's using the booking link and payments. So Nikki and I both have some horror stories to share when it comes to booking direct and kind of having things go sideways. So, like I said in the beginning, Destination Weddings Expert, we have booked 99.5% of our groups with a tour operator, and we've done that because we've tried direct a couple times,
Mhm.
and some things have gone a little sideways. So, Nikki, fill me in a little bit about how the payment process was the one of the times that we went direct.
So sometimes they do give you that booking link and you will process the payments. Those payments might be processing in another country. So for a lot of people who have, well, we all got credit cards, but some people have strong fraud protection.
Mhm.
That payment's being run in another country, it gets declined.
Mhm.
We've also had Book Direct, and they require us to print a paper, fill out a form, scan it in, and then they're going to process it on that end again in another country.
Yep.
That's a lot of PII.
Mhm.
I don't know. We didn't know when they're doing it. They say it's being done, but they delayed in processing them. So 2 weeks later, someone thinks that $1,300 has been processed. They
Mhm.
spent their money.
Mhm.
It
Mm.
doesn't, and that it declines again. Um, the payments booking direct can be difficult, even with the payment link that you might be sharing with your guests. When the payment doesn't complete, no one follows up on it. So sometimes we have payments and they decline, and we follow up with the guests until we figure out why this payment has not been processed, or here's your invoice where it has been processed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
If everyone's doing it individually direct, or if we're doing it direct, we may not know the final accounting until days before the wedding. And at that point, it's really hard to come back to people and say, you know what, sorry, that payment didn't go through, your room's not paid in full, and so we need another $800. Um, it's just, it's much more
Messy.
of a comprehensive service. When we book through a tour operator, the payments are processed in the United States. We see their accounting. We have our accounting, which we hold our accounting separate from theirs, so we can verify
Mhm.
that the money is worth money's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And you don't get that experience when you're working direct.
Yep. I think one of the beautiful things about working with a tour operator is that when we do this, we have access. They open up their systems to us. We have a group profile, so your wedding is underneath a group profile. We have everything kind of set to go from there, and then when we go in, we log into that reservation. We can process the payment, see the approval come through right there with the approval code. We know there's a approval code, and as soon as we have that, it's done. We know that it's handled on the tour operator side. We know that those funds will be transferred over to the hotel at the appropriate time when it's time to go over to the hotel. But we know that that's being taken care of. When you go direct, you don't get any of that information. You get, oh, we will process your payment. You submitted a payment request to us, and that doesn't always work.
Mhm.
So the payments can really be a nightmare if you try and go direct, and especially if you're not doing with an agent. If you're doing it on your own and trying to go direct with the hotel, it can get, I mean, this is a full-time job. We've got a team of 5 people here at DWE
Mhm.
that handles everything in the system with the reservations, right? So it's to try and do that on your own for your own wedding is a task that you just don't want to take on, right? So then let's talk about some of the protections that you have through contracted services. So the protections that you have with if we end up going through the tour operator. So when you go direct, I think one of the tempting things about going direct is that your attrition schedule is shorter. They might
Mhm.
say, hey, you don't need to give the rooms back to us until 30 days ahead of the wedding, right? Um, that comes with its own problems, though. So
Sounds good. It
it
sounds
sounds,
good.
yeah. Oh, I
Turned
don't
out
But
to
have,
be true.
yeah, I don't have to pay. I don't have to release rooms until 30 days before. Awesome. Except for your wedding planning was due 60 days before. And so now
Mm.
you have finalized, approved, and paid for guests that all of a sudden decided they're not going. And they can actually cancel then at that point because the attrition schedule is so short. It's so when we go this route, first of all, the tour operators are going to have a little bit longer attrition schedules, right? It just comes with the territory when you do a tour
Mhm.
operator. But it's okay. We build in, we make sure we give them enough time, your guests enough time to make payments, to decide if they want to come or not. That's how we structure it, and we do that on purpose. But it also is there to protect your planning. So, when you're doing it this way, then you can go in and say, okay, I know this is my guest count. It might change one or two, right? But it's not going to shift by 10 rooms. It's, so that attrition schedule really is there to help protect not only the room block, but the planning process as well. It's Nikki, talk to me a little bit about the shorter attrition schedule and like final payments with guests, and why we structure ours the way that we do.
We structure it the way we do, and we time it, and so does a tour operator, honestly, because wedding contracts are finalized typically 90 days out, and the payments are made. That is when you know how many guests you have coming. That way, our wedding couples aren't booking, 3 more tables, 3 more centerpieces, 3 more this, a bigger dance floor, and then they have, how many rooms of guests that are going to pay on property, pay when they get there. They're not going. I'm going to tell you what, they're not going. So we set our payments. You will know who's got skin in the game for your wedding in enough time for you to plan and make payments. So we'll have a second payment because the tour operator does too. The same way, you're going to hold the rooms. We want people to own these rooms.
Yep.
They're coming. These are their rooms. So after that point, we give back the extra rooms to the hotel so they can give them to other guests and they can get booked. By the time final payment rolls around, you have your head count.
Yep.
Have your head count for planning.
I think, it's one of the things that people don't realize is, when we have all these padded dates and padded amounts, and, the way that we structure our contracts, it can come into question sometimes on, well, can't we just push this back, or can't we hold this a little bit longer? And the truth is that not everyone is as invested in your wedding as you are, right? So it's, if you have auntie so and so who forgot about second payment, and let's say we didn't pad our dates and we didn't pad our amounts, right? So we said, October 23rd second payment is due, and in the contract it also says October 23rd second payment is due. That gives us 0 time for follow-up. That's 0 time to go to auntie so and so and say, are you coming or are you not? We need to cancel your room if you're not, so that we can make sure that we're up to schedule. Otherwise, you as the couple are now on the hook for the difference that auntie so and so didn't pay. And that's that's what I think people don't realize when they're signing these room block contracts. This is a contract. You're guaranteeing funds to the hotel, and if you don't manage it properly, you can really find yourself in a very sticky situation. So those shorter attrition terms, those, we'll pay when we get to the hotel, or we'll pay 30 days ahead or whatever. It sounds better, and it definitely sounds better to the guests. They'll hold on to their money as long as they want to, right? But it can hurt you real bad in the planning, and just on the financial side of things, it can.
This is not where you want to be that cool, laid back parent. This is what you want to be, the structured parent, because this is money. It is money, and it is liability for everyone involved. And the numbers that are big to us are small to them.
Nothing.
Yep.
Drop in the bucket.
But they'll still take it from you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's I guess that's the point that we're trying to make with this, Nikki, right? Is it's the reason you have us involved, the reason we have the tour operator involved, and then the tour operator goes to the hotel, is because we want those protections in place. You need an advocate that's going to advocate for you, for your wedding, for your guests, to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. When we put these policies in place, when we structure the contracts the way that we do, we're doing it because we know it's going to keep everyone protected. We don't take a room block lightly, because it's, in the end, I'm also on the line for $100,000. Right?
It's money. I don't play with money.
No,
I don't want to give away my money. No.
We do not do that with
No,
and it's tough. And realize too, all of this is like this because it needed to be.
Yeah.
Because people got stuck and burned, like
Careless.
you know, we've seen stories. We've seen
Mhm.
stories from other, you know, people in the industry.
Mhm.
I have 40 rooms I'm stuck with now.
Mhm.
Like that amount of money,
Mhm.
it's like it's crazy.
Yep.
We don't want any part of that. We're gonna do it because we watch your room block. We have room block maintenance. We watch it all. We check
Mhm.
all the payments, we check your guests. Um, if it's direct, they're not gonna look at it until right before the wedding.
Mhm.
And, you know, occasionally we have clients submit the reservation request and the dates are wrong. It might be a week or two. They want to come in on the
Mhm.
Thursday before the wedding, but they have the dates wrong. You may not get that noticed when it's direct because that booking link might pick up those dates because they're available at their system.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be able to do that with us.
Right. Yep. It's, you know, there's so many other terms that are in these contracts that we skim over because the terms are there and it's there to protect us. We know it's there to protect us. We don't necessarily go
Mhm.
as deep into it as we probably should. But, you know, there's, again, when you go through a tour operator, let's say you end up in a force majeure that's situation, right? That's at the time that we're recording this, hurricane, it was tropical storm turning into Hurricane Melissa, is making its way through the Caribbean, and it's looking like it's going to hit Jamaica, right? It's when you're in a force majeure situation like that, where the hotel is not, you're not going to be able to stay open, right? If you are booked direct, yes, they're going to try and accommodate you. They're going to try and, you know, work things out,
They're going to change your date.
but they're going to,
They're
They may
gonna
not,
let you change those dates.
yeah,
Hey, you can
they're
come
not
whenever you
gonna,
want to come,
yep,
we've
but I ain't got
had,
no money to get back to you.
yeah, we've had this happen. We've
Mhm.
had a hotel have a fire.
hmm
We've had a hotel damaged by a hurricane for upcoming weddings. Now, both of those would not have had
Mm.
alternative resorts to move you to. Your date's out the window.
Because
yep,
now you got to get that money back from that hotel. How
mhm,
long is that going to take? If they give it back,
Yeah.
like it.
And so you
now,
got to change your
yeah,
dates. All your guests have bought their flights, they paid for their rooms. No,
yep.
What are
don't
you
do it.
doing? Where are you
Don't do it.
going?
Yeah, and Prissy, you brought up a good point. You have to wait for the, you know, the hotel to return the money. Then, by the way, it's going back to each guest's individual card. So now we have to recollect the money
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, and send it over to another property if they'll allow us to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's if it's direct, we don't know when they're going to do it.
We don't know when they're going to do it.
And guess at this point, I don't want to be bothered. My money came back. I'm going to buy me some Gucci shoes or
You're
something.
not going
Like
to the next.
I have options at this point. Like,
Yeah.
no, you don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, yeah. So that's with the tour operator, with the force majeure part of the contract that's there, we're able to now shift, move. None of the money is going to go back to the guests. It's going to go back to the tour operator, and the tour operator is then going to reassign it to another hotel. It's
Mm-hmm.
the example that you used, Nikki, back, what was that 22?
I
20,
have to
no, it's
look.
20, it was 23. That's yeah, well, in 22, Atelier had that fire. That's,
Mm-hmm.
it was, you know, it's such a beautiful property, and we had a wedding that was going to be absolutely gorgeous there.
Yes.
But there was nothing that could, you know, we don't want to send guests to a hotel that smells like smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to, you know, renovate the hotel, get things fixed, which they did a phenomenal job, by the way.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we had to move a wedding between our relationships with Live Aqua Cancun, and our relationship with the tour operator. We were able to get that entire wedding from Atelier moved over to Live Aqua, kept the same date, kept the guests' accommodations as close to, you know, where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the categories are a little different at different properties, but we kept them as close to, you know, as possible. Because of our relationships, the new hotel held the rates that, you know, should have been a lot more at that point
Mm-hmm.
since we were so close to travel. So it's, you know, it gives us flexibility, it gives us moving power,
Security.
security.
Mm-hmm.
It's when things like that happen. That's why we have this stuff in
Yeah.
place. And it takes me back to kind of like the conversation, you know, that we have on a very micro level about travel insurance. It's
Mm.
not about, you know, it's not about if everything goes perfectly. If everything goes perfectly in a perfect world, awesome. We don't need contracts. We don't need insurance, right? But
When it
stuff
goes
happens.
wrong.
Yeah, stuff happens. And when stuff happens, you want to make sure you're protected. going direct, as much as we love our hotel partners, as much as we, you know, that's we do trust them with some amazing weddings, we want to make sure all the protections are in place that we can have so that we're protected, so that our couples are protected, so that no one runs into the oh no, what happens
What
situation.
now?
The
Well, I like.
easygoing days are gone. The
Mhm.
easygoing days left a few years ago, and we all know why.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of reasons why.
Yeah, so
I like to look at the suppliers. They're holding the umbrella and we're standing under it. But I think we lose sight of the umbrella. Like the group, $150,000. The umbrella is worth a couple of $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we have more protection, we have more power, we have more coverage being under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to, get on up under there, do what you're gonna
I
do,
love that
be safe,
umbrella.
have a good time.
Yeah.
Because
That
when
umbrella.
something happens,
Mm.
you're not by yourself. You're not out in the cold by yourself.
Yep.
And what happens during the planning when the resort is unresponsive
Uh,
to schedule their events, Mario? Like when
Oh.
the hotel is not responding to plan their welcome party.
So that just happened recently, which is why Nikki's bringing that up.
mm.
It's because we had a tour operator involved. I not only was able to go to my business development manager for that hotel brand and say, what the hell is going on here? Let's, we have an event coming up. They travel in a month, and we don't have anything confirmed yet because the property's not responding. Not only did I have that, but actually where I actually got my traction from was the tour operator. I went to the tour operator. I said, "Hey, we have this in our contract that we have a welcome event that we, get comped. They will not respond. They will not confirm anything for us. I have exhausted my resources. What can you do?" And we had an answer. What was it? 24 hours later, we had an answer from the property that someone else was assigned to it, and we were able to get that event going. And we got it planned. They had a welcome event. It was not ideal planning timeline, but it got done. So
The umbrella.
the umbrella, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Every policy that Destination Weddings Expert has in place is, like Nikki said before, is in place for a reason. Either
Mhm.
we have experienced it in the past, or someone else has experienced it in the past, and we've learned from it.
Mhm.
And so when we structure the contracts like we do, when we tell you, hey, you do want to go with a tour operator, this is the way that we structure our room block contracts. It's all there to protect you, to make the planning process a little easier for you, to make sure that you are able to enjoy the process and not be stressed or worried about, you know, if Auntie so and so submitted her credit card to some link that you have no way of tracking, and things like that. So we wanted to get this episode out here just so we could talk about what the differences are, because when you're out there and you're doing your research, you do have a lot of options that you can consider, but they don't always talk about, it's all the good, the bad, and the ugly
Mhm.
that's involved in it. So that's why we're here, is to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. So ladies, thank you so much for joining the conversation today. I really appreciate it. I think this was a very informative this episode. So you all have a good day. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to learn more or ready to schedule your complimentary consultation? Follow us on Instagram at Destination Weddings Expert, or visit our website at destinationweddingsexpert.com.